SugarPlum Confections and author of delicious desserts to satisfy your sweet tooth. Today I'm going to share with you a recipe for a hummingbird cake. Now if you're from the South, then you're probably familiar with this cake, but if you're not, you're probably wondering what in the world is a hummingbird cake. Well, it's a really moist spice cake that's got bananas and pineapple and cinnamon and pecans, and then it's topped off with a cream cheese frosting. And I have to tell you that anything with cream cheese frosting is okay with me. My grandmother actually used to make this cake all the time, and so I'm really glad that I get to share this recipe with you and show you how to make it. So let's go ahead and get started. I have got my oven preheating to 350 degrees, and I'm going to go ahead and prep 3 8-inch cake pans by spraying them with an oil and flour baking spray. And I actually use a product called Baker's Joy, which you can find really easily in your local grocery store in the baking section. But you can also butter and flour your pans if you like. You're just going to take some softened butter and spread it around the inside, bottom, and the sides of the pan. And then take about a tablespoon of flour and dust it around the pan, making sure that you get a really even coat on the entire inside of the pan. So I'm going to go ahead and spray my pans, making sure I get the sides and the bottom. Okay. Now once our pans are coated, we can go ahead and set them to the side, and then we're going to get our wet ingredients together. So I have a large measuring cup here, and I'm going to go ahead and crack 3 eggs. Okay. Then I have 1½ cups of vegetable oil. And then 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. Then I'm going to grab my whisk and go ahead and whisk this together until it's well combined. Okay, so once our wet ingredients are well combined, put that in the sink. We're going to go ahead and set this to the side and then get our dry ingredients together. So for our dry ingredients, I have a large bowl here, and I'm going to sift together 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 cups of granulated sugar, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and make sure it's not baking powder, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of kosher salt. And we'll go ahead and sift these together. And the reason why we want to sift our dry ingredients is to not only make sure that everything is incorporated, but we also want to incorporate a little bit of air into our dry ingredients, which really helps us create a really nice and light cake. And then you also want to just make sure that we get all the lumps out. Any lumps that are in the bottom, left in the bottom of the sifter. Okay, so once we've got all our dry ingredients together, I'm going to go ahead and add my wet ingredients. Remember, this was the eggs, the oil, and the vanilla. So we're going to add that in there and just mix it together until it's well incorporated. And you know, this recipe is really easy because it's just one bowl. You have a lot of ingredients, but it's really just one bowl, and you don't have to mess with an electric mixer and all that stuff. So then I'm going to add 1 8-ounce can, which is about 1 cup of crushed pineapple with the juice, and 1 cup of chopped pecans, and mix that in. Okay, once that's all mixed in, what I have here is about 2 cups of mashed banana. It equates to about 3 or 4 bananas. So I'm going to go ahead and take my rubber spatula and add that to the batter. And then I'm actually going to use my rubber spatula to fold the bananas into the rest of the batter. And we're just going to keep folding until everything's pretty well incorporated those pecans and banana and pineapple. You can really tell this is going to be a really moist cake. Okay, I think that's good. Okay, so I think our batter is pretty well mixed, and we're going to go ahead and put our batter in our cake pans. And remember, we just prepared our pans by spraying them with an oil and flour baking spray. I actually like to use a large ice cream scoop to make sure that I get an even amount of batter in each of the pans, but you can certainly just pour. Okay, I think that's the last of our batter. That's out of the way. And I like to just give my pans a little bit of shake before I put them in the oven, just to make sure the batter is spread evenly along the pans. And we're going to go ahead and place our cakes into the oven and let them bake for about 25 to 30 minutes, or until a toothpick inserted into the center of each cake comes out clean. Alright, so my cakes are done, and I let them cool in the pan for about 10 minutes or so after I took them out of the oven. Then I transferred them to a cooling rack and let them cool completely. And now we get to go to my favorite part, which is actually frosting the cake. So I have here a bowl of some cream cheese frosting that I've already prepared ahead of time, and let me show you how I did that. Place 1 stick of softened butter and 1 8-ounce package of cream cheese in a large bowl. Add 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract and a pinch of salt. Using an electric mixer, cream the butter and cream cheese together until light and creamy, about 2 to 3 minutes. Next, add in 4 cups of sifted powdered sugar and mix until thoroughly combined. If your frosting seems a little dry, add in some milk 1 tablespoon at a time until the frosting reaches a spreadable consistency. Okay, so let's go ahead and assemble our cake. I've got here a cake turntable and a 10-inch cardboard cake round. Now, you certainly don't need these to frost your cake, but it does make it a little bit easier to frost around the sides of the cake, and you end up having a nicer presentation as well. And you can certainly get both of these items at a cake supply or a craft store. They're pretty easy to find. Okay, so I've placed 1 layer of the cake on the center of my cake board, and then I have 4 sheets of wax paper that I've just cut into strips, and I've placed underneath the cake layer to catch any of the excess frosting. So once I've finished frosting the cake, I can remove them and have a nice clean edge around the base of the cake. So I'm going to take my large offset spatula and just spread a layer of frosting on. And just make sure you get an even layer of frosting all the way to the edge. And that looks good. So we're going to take our second layer and place it on top of the first. And then just press it down a little bit. And we'll take another dollop of frosting and make an even layer. Then we're going to place the last layer on top. And just press down a little bit just to make sure that the frosting is adhering all the way to the edge of the cake. Then I'm going to take a big dollop of frosting, put it on top. That's good. And then I'm just going to work the frosting to the edge of the cake. And I'm actually going to use that to start frosting the sides of the cake. And just work it to the edge and on down the sides. Okay, so now we've got our cake all frosted, and I have here some leftover chopped pecans, so I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit on top of the cake. And you can certainly sprinkle some pecans on the sides of the cake, or you can completely omit this step if you want to. It's just up to you. I actually like a little bit of crunch on the top, and it looks really nice. And there we go. And there you have it. That's my hummingbird cake. I'm Konya Lindsey. Thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to visit me at www.sugarplum-confections.com. Enjoy.